Okay, if you are watching this video, it is because you are in my English 10 class for either second or sixth period, and you were gone at some point this week. So this is for week 3, September 19th through the 23rd. This week we are starting our first unit. We are looking at argumentative writing and persuasive writing, and so we're going to start officially with Google Slides. I told you the first week of school that that's going to be like your version of a digital journal, essentially. That's what Google Slides are. You get a new set every single week, and we go through them together in class. So you won't have homework unless you don't finish the slides in class based off where we're at in the week. We are doing proficiency grading, as I mentioned. So here is the rubric for weekly Google Slides. Now, I will say what you're seeing on the screen or what's uploaded into Canvas right now, that is a general rubric for Google Slides. Sometimes things will be added to the rubric depending on what we're doing. But for example, because we are just now starting this unit, there's not a lot for me to grade in terms of standards because we haven't learned the foundational knowledge that we need to in order to be assessed on standards. So in that case, this is just going to be like the basic rubric for Google Slides. You'll see as the weeks go on, I will add certain things depending on what standards we're looking at in terms of formative assessments. So you can always expect to at least see this and then something else may be added on later. But I will tell you if something is added on for that week. So before you submit your slides at the end of the week, please make sure to read over this rubric because this is how I will be grading you. And as long as you follow everything within the category, that is how you will get scored. Okay, so to start off the week on Monday, we are going to fill out this Google form. As I mentioned, we're starting a new unit, and I need to know where your background knowledge is because everybody comes from different spots. So you're going to fill this out for me. You can use the QR code or you can use the link that's on Canvas. And then this is going to be an activity that we do in class. So anytime that you're looking at your slides and then you're watching this video and you don't see something like this on your slides, it's because it's going to be an in-person activity that we do that you can't replicate by yourself if you're at home sick or whatever you're doing. So this is going to be in class. We're going to do an elevator speech. And essentially the point of this activity is to try to see how in a very quick manner we can come up with an argument to see how persuasive or not persuasive we are in our argument, and you get to choose the topic. So I won't really go into depth about this because if you're gone on the day that we do this, it's going to be hard for you to fill this out. So if that is you, please tell me and I'll let you know how we can fix that. So the big takeaway from this activity is that we need to ask ourselves these questions. Do people agree with you when you make an argument because they already had bias toward the argument, like meaning they were in favor of what you had to say? Or do people disagree with you because they don't have prior knowledge on the subject? Those are two really important things to consider when we're looking at argument and persuasion. So, why does this unit matter? Why are we learning these skills? This is a quote from Mark Twain on the left. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. Essentially, I believe that this unit is probably one of the most important ones in terms of skills that you'll get from this class because it's really important to have the ability to identify other people's reasoning and logic and explain their own logic to identify it, to have the ability to reason through writing and explain your own logic when you're presenting an argument, to see past tricks of marketing and advertising, and then to give you a sense of empowerment with your own voice and point of view. Every day, you're going to have the opportunity to make decisions. Every day, the world is going to try to vie for your attention and for your opinion on things, and you have to be able to make sense of all of that. And this unit will give you skills to do so. Also, on Monday, we're going to be, I know it says first chapter Friday, but we're moving this to Monday because Monday's an all meet day. Every Monday or every other Monday, you will get the opportunity to get like a quick book talk from me that's about something within the realm of reading. And this week, we're going to look at Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. So if you're interested in this book, let me know and we can talk about it. So on the following slide after this one, you are going to do your best to define what these terms are, based off of what you know right now. If you're like, I have never heard of bias, or I've never heard of elaboration, or I think I know what it is, but I'm not sure, just write down what you do know. If it's nothing, say, I'm not familiar with this term. If it's something, then tell me what that something is in the box. And then anytime you see a line in your notes, you're going to fill in the blank. So for this slide specifically, you're going to fill in group of statements. So we're going to take some notes about argument and persuasion to get some fundamental knowledge down. An argument is a group of statements that leads to a conclusion. If I had to define it in the most simple terms, this is what it would be. It's a group of statements that leads to a conclusion. So I have a question for you, which is an argument the same thing as a thesis when you're writing? Highlight on your slide, true or false. I'll give you a second. So, turns out an argument is a group of statements, not just one statement. So it's not the same thing. A thesis statement is one statement. It's not a group of statements. So they are different, but they work together. And let me explain more on that here. Again, anytime you see a line, you're going to fill in the blank on your slides. So here's a metaphor for you. Arguments are cold and persuasion is hot. Arguments are made up of passionless sentences that lead to a passionless conclusion. Persuasion is hot, meaning it consists of tricks that we use to make others care about that cold argument. You have to start with an argument before you can persuade somebody of something. So they're two different things essentially, but they do work together. And I'm going to give you an example in terms of advertising. This will give you a sneak peek as to what we're going to talk about with advertising. So this is a screenshot I took when I taught this unit last year from Damian Lillard's Instagram account. He is partnering with this brand of soles that go inside your shoes. And an example of an argument would be him saying, I bought these soles for my shoes and they work. That's an argument. It leads to a conclusion of something. Not a lot going on there. It's not super interesting. This is persuasion. He is trying to convince you that not only do these soles work, but they're the best ones around. You need to have them if you're an athlete. He's going to show you with a picture of himself using them, a cool caption with emojis. That is persuasion. That's the difference between the two. Okay, so we'll pause at this point and go out on the track, but obviously if you're gone, you're gone. So we'll pick it back up after the track with some more notes talking about syllogisms. Sounds like a really complicated, difficult word, but essentially syllogisms are statements that force us to accept a conclusion. So this is looking at types of arguments that are they're kind of boiled down to the basics, the foundations, and these specific arguments are things that you cannot unargue, I guess, or try to get around the logic of. So here's an example. If you go to college or if you ever take a psychology class, I guarantee that you will hear this at some point. All men are mortal. Socrates, who was a famous philosopher dude, is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. This and this, therefore this. Here's another example, more relevant maybe. All men are mortal. Tom Holland is a man. Therefore, Tom Holland is mortal. It's an argument that is kind of cyclical. It just goes back and forth and it leads you to one thing after another. All people, things in this category are blank. This particular person and thing is in that category. Therefore, this person or thing is a blank. So there are three common types of syllogisms. The first one is the one we just talked about. And then there are these two. So what you're going to do on the next slide is you're going to read the syllogisms and you're going to highlight the pattern that you're seeing based off of this. So I'll give you a second to do that and then I'll explain how it works. So this is what it should look like after you've highlighted. You either wear your seatbelt or you don't ride in my car. You won't wear your seatbelt, then you won't be riding in my car. So it shows you the pattern and I just gave you colors to kind of give you that visual, color coordinated. Either the Ducks or the Beavers will win the game. The Beavers lost. That means the Ducks won the game. So the whole point behind syllogisms is that we're trying to look at boiling an argument down to the most basic form it can get and seeing, is it logical? Does this make sense? Because if you were to present an argument and try to persuade somebody of that argument, but the logic was not sound, if it didn't have any logic involved, then you would be wasting your time. So we kind of have to be able to have an understanding of what this looks like. Okay, so this should be the third day. So now we're going to take some notes going beyond 3-line syllogisms, because that can get really boring and repetitive very quickly. Syllogisms help us determine an argument's validity, meaning, is it logical? Does it make sense? But now we're going to start looking at evidence, which is really where we're going to camp out in this unit. Evidence helps us determine an argument's credibility, meaning, why should we believe the argument? If it's logical, that's one thing, but why should we believe it after finding out that it's logical? So now we need to know or ask ourselves, what exactly is evidence? Evidence is support. If you have a statement or an argument without evidence, it's another way of talking about that is called an assertion. And those assertions are not very sturdy. They don't really stand for that long. So evidence is support, and what it does is that it backs up your argument, it strengthens it, it makes it airtight, and it often will look like this. There's more forms than this, but this is just boiling it down to 5 simple types: facts, numbers, quotes, examples, analogies. So here's what those things look like. Facts are actual, verifiable, and indisputable. Like we talked about the syllogisms: humans need water to survive, electrons have a negative charge, the sun sets in the west. These are things that have been proven true over time. There's really no other evidence or scientific reasoning to show that it's different. It's the facts. The second would be numbers. These are statistics, surveys, or any type of measurement. If you see a number, it falls in this category. So you could talk about statistics and surveys and 64 million views on Netflix, that kind of thing. Quotes are exactly what you're probably thinking they are. They're an exact repetition of words, the exact words of an expert. So you could either, well, it's not paraphrasing, but it's direct quotes, just like below. And then we have examples, which are based on observations. So they could be anecdotes, which means stories. They could be items in a text, so you're referring to something. Or it could be an experiment result. And then we have analogies, which are comparisons. They show how two things are related or similar or connected in some way. So in class, we're going to do an activity called evidence sort. You're going to get cutouts of packs of evidence, things that are in strips of paper, and you're going to get into groups of 3 or with a partner, and you're going to be given 5 minutes to sort them into categories based off the 5 types that we talked about, and then we're going to see if you got them right. So this is what they should look like in class. Obviously, if you're not in class, you won't be doing this activity because there's nothing for you to write physically in the slides. Then on Friday, we are going to go up to the library to check out a book for independent reading, or Friday and Thursday, depending on what day you have me. So here's the rules for this. You will be given time in class every day, or almost every other day, to silently read. And this is your independent book. This is a book of your choice. I don't care what it is, as long as it's from the library, or if you talk to me and it's something from home. It needs to be something you have not read before, and the rules are this. Give your book a chance. I want you to read at least 3 chapters before you decide to try a different book. That's always my rule personally. And then if you try it and don't like it, that's okay. You can totally get another one. I don't want you to be stuck with a book you don't like, but you need to give it a shot. The purpose of having independent reading time is to try to help you find what you like, to find what's interesting to you, or maybe you are a really big avid reader and you do it all the time. It's trying to give you the space and time to explore other genres and see if there's other stuff that you might like. So when we get back to class, you're going to have 15 minutes of independent reading time, and then you're going to answer these questions. Okay, and then we're going to watch a video from TED Ed, and they're going to talk about 3 types of persuasion: logos, pathos, and ethos. If you haven't heard of these terms before, I'm sure you will in the future after this class, because they're very foundational things within this category of reading, writing, communicating. So in class, you're going to turn to a partner and say what you remember or know about these things. If it's nothing, that's totally fine. We're going to watch this video. If you are completing this part of the slides at home because you were gone, the video link is in this slide just down below in the comments. So you are, after watching that video, going to tell me what is logos, pathos, and what is ethos. Describe to me the definition with an example. And then we're going to look at a few videos that are going to kind of give us a sneak peek as to our advertising unit, or not unit, our little mini advertising section of this unit. So logos is all about logic and reason, and you're going to watch this T-Mobile ad and answer the following questions on the slide. Then we're going to talk about pathos, which is empathy and emotions, and same thing, you're going to watch this Chevy commercial and then answer the questions. And then for ethos, same thing. Ethics, ethical, the credibility of the writer or the expert brings to the argument. You're going to watch this video from Kaiser and then answer the questions. So to finish the slides for this week, you need to answer this one last question. Do you think one of these three is better than the others? Is one greater than another to use in an argument? I'm curious to hear your answers. So say yes or no, highlight it, and then you're going to tell me why you think yes or no. And then that is it for week 3 for English 10. If you have any questions about any of that, just let me know.